Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I am truly honored you are here becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. And I'm so excited that we actually have a conscious mama here with us. It's Ainsley, and Ainsley reached out a few months ago for me to be on her new podcast, and all the pieces started to click, and I was like, oh, you are in the course. Oh, you are the Canadian. Oh, you had the gut health issues. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and just going to share your wisdom in hindsight of being through this journey and what truly made the difference in your life.
Yeah, happy to come on and share whatever I can to help people on their journey.
Well, let's start from the beginning. You obviously were dealing with some fertility issues, but everyone has their unique story. So we would love to hear yours.
Yeah, so my partner and I were wanting to conceive pre-COVID. We were digitally nomadic. We spend 3 to 6 months of the year elsewhere. And 2020 was a year where we were like, okay, we're going to do a 6-month stint in Europe and then start with our family. Amazing. It's all going to be great. Obviously, pandemic happened and threw out a lot of our travel plans. We ended up having to come back really quick from Portugal. We made the decision to come back while everything was closing down, and we made the decision to come back to Canada. Myself, like a lot of people, were feeling very uncertain with everything. And I was just like, this isn't the right time. Let's just wait a little bit longer. So we ended up waiting for a little bit and eventually ended up traveling during the height of the pandemic, I guess. Well, most people were, locked down. We were also like, hey, you can get sick anywhere. Let's not stall our life. Let's continue to live and let's try to get pregnant while on the road. It's amazing. This is going to be great. We were trying for a long time. I think it was about 1.5 years before we actually ended up getting pregnant. I felt like I was doing all the right things. I'm definitely someone who's very research oriented. So I was like, okay, I'm going to eat this type of diet. And I was making sure I was on prenatals before. I was like, all right, we're going to get pregnant super quick. And that definitely wasn't the case. It ended up becoming a lot more challenging than I thought. That first month of having unprotected sex or not on birth control. I had flushed my body out of birth control for like 6 months leading up, like was really trying to, okay, everything is good. And we just thought, okay, it's going to happen so naturally, even though like, not the youngest of people. And it just didn't every month. Like I'm sure a lot of people, it just became harder and harder. And tears when you get your period every month. And it just became really hard. Ended up working with a naturopath for a while to see what was going on, doing different tests, seeing what was going on. Everything really looked good. So I was starting to just take different supplements and trying different protocols, all while we were still on the road. And then I ended up getting really sick while we were on the road. I was in Peru and got like a lot of people apparently end up getting traveling. I got a parasite from hiking the Inca Trail. And that kind of threw my gut. So did my partner. We both had real bad gut health after that because we were both dealing with parasites. And that obviously was not helping with the fertility piece at all as well. Because now I'm trying to heal my gut and he's trying to heal his gut. And it was just like a constant piece of trying to heal the gut while trying to get pregnant. I didn't necessarily see a connection with that at the beginning. Down the road, I was like, okay, clearly something's going on here. All while still traveling too. And I felt like we can maybe get into that. I think that that was maybe a piece while not getting pregnant when we wanted to. Eventually, I joined the program with you and I looked at things a little bit different. I looked at my food sensitivities. We worked on my gut a little bit more. And then finally, while we were on the road again, which I don't think is a coincidence, I'm pretty sure my children just love to travel as much as we do, ended up finding out that I was pregnant and now have a 17-month-old little girl.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And like so clearly remember one coaching session that we were having. And I was just like, you don't have fertility issues. You have a gut health issue. And even though maybe it didn't happen with ease when you first started, so many women, if they don't get pregnant within that first 6 months, and especially to a year, they're just thrown into, well, you have fertility issues, right? And while that's really not the case for most, there's an underlying issue. And for you, it was really obvious for me that gut health, until you really honed in and did what you need to do, it was just going to be more challenging for you to get pregnant. But I would like you, with the hindsight now of those early months, I mean, I can almost still feel it in my body, those early months and into years for me, of that overanalyzing and the desperation and the sadness of not seeing a positive pregnancy test. And when you're in the thick of it, it's just feels impossible to surrender or let go.
Yeah, it really does feel hard to surrender and let go because you are doing all the things. So maybe a lot of women trying to get pregnant, especially like I was 37 when I ended up getting pregnant. So I was 36 when we started. There's so much knowledge out there, which is amazing, great, and extremely overwhelming. What started out with me being like, oh, I'm going to be an informed new mother. I'm going to try to, get off birth control before so that that's out of my body. I'm going to be on prenatals before. I'm going to eat the right foods. Great. I'm going to feel good with that. That was it. And then it just started to really creepily like sneak onto each other in terms of, oh, well, you should be taking CoQ10 and you should be taking more iron and you should be taking quercetin and you should be taking this. And then next thing you know, like, I'm not even joking, traveling, I had a full, I used packing cube. One of those was just full of vitamins, reeked of carrying them around all the time it was like so many vitamins night and day. That was one of my big pieces for sure. Diet was a piece. Vitamins were a huge piece. And then it becomes almost like all consuming. And I'm sure everyone can relate because when you want to have a child and it's not happening, it is all consuming in so many ways. It's so all consuming as well, desperate to make it work. Eventually, I ended up trying to release. That was one thing I went through. Trying to release. Okay, Ainsley, you need to not care as much and just release. But I was still so heady about it. There would be periods where I would go through more of being like, no, I'm truly going to surrender. I had my little spot by Lake Ontario. I live in Toronto as my home base. I live really close to the water and would just go and sit on my one rock and look out into the water and try to connect with my little one. And that helped me for a period, for sure, in terms of knowing it was going to happen eventually. I think that was a big piece too. I was so frustrated that it wasn't happening on my timeline, which I think was a lesson that I needed. Our babies teach us something before they are even here, and they teach us so much when they're here. One thing that I really needed to learn was it's not all going to happen on your schedule. You are not in control of this. It was really having the belief and faith that it would all work out. I don't think I ever lost that, thankfully. Positive in that I knew that it would happen, even if it had to happen from IVF. I was in New York and then went to Mexico for 2 months. That 3-month stint, we were doing that. And I was like, okay, I'm coming back and I'm doing IVF. Like, cool, that's fine. I surrendered to that. I know what's going to happen. We're going to come back and do IVF. And then I found out I was pregnant. I do think part of that was like the surrendering to however it's going to happen, I didn't believe that it would happen, but I stopped holding on so tightly to it needing to happen in my way, which I think at the end of the day really did create this space for my little one to say, hey, okay, yeah, I want to join.
Did you see now some of the patterns that you brought into the journey that you maybe patterned before in your life, kind of overanalyzing or overachieving or controlling, the outcome of stuff?
Oh my gosh, yes. The like trying to overanalyze everything 100% because it was always, especially when you're getting results. Oh, okay, let me get results and like compare it to this and this. And I had little like graphs that I would do in terms of like, okay, here is my blood work this month compared to 3 months ago. And I would make myself these little graphs and track it all, which for me gives me comfort. Trying to control the outcome is definitely a piece that I had to learn to let go of. And you just learn it even more as you're a mom, thinking that you can control it all. That's definitely like a trait that I brought in. And I'm still working on that. Absolutely wanting things to happen this way. And they're not necessarily going to happen that way. But those were definitely some of the big patterns. And really like, yeah, I think really focusing on the end result is probably another big pattern that I had that was driving it, is like this end result versus like, what is everything that's leading to it? Like enjoy the journey. When I was pregnant, I definitely embraced that fully, enjoying the journey, not just focusing on the end result. I became much more release, surrender during all that time. Breath work became a huge part of my daily practice. I did a natural birth. It was very calm and surrendered so much more. But I think that even became easier as I learned to surrender more towards the end of that process of trying to get pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that a lot of us either hit rock bottom or just accept, okay, we're going to move into medical assistance. I know you said the travel and the uncertainty of where you were and the times of COVID didn't give you that safety that maybe would have allowed the baby to come in, because if you don't feel safe, then, you know, when you released that, maybe COVID times were a little bit done, safety came back. You maybe had safety in a plan. Talk a little bit about that part of your journey of knowing the difference between feeling safe and not feeling safe with the hindsight, right? Because sometimes it's just hard to see that or even articulate it when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. I mean, I got to a point where we were moving every month all across Mexico and South America and doing somewhat extreme sports throughout the way, hiking, very high altitude volcanoes and mountains, scuba diving, surfing, all the things, and all exhilarating pieces, and love it. And also, I recognize that moving every single month, needing to find your bearings. Is this safe down this alley? Hold on. Where is the grocery store? Hold on. What's going on here? Like that plays a mental toll, or so I told myself, it plays a mental toll on that feeling of safety. That was definitely a reason why we stopped traveling for a while. We ended up getting sick with the parasites and we weren't getting pregnant on the road. It was just like, you know what? Let's just go back and chill at home for a bit, heal our guts, and feel that safety at home. Still didn't get pregnant at home. So that wasn't really the solution.
Even if you feel safe and you're dealing with a parasite, your body's kind of just like, I don't really want to take this on until you're at a certain level. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
can't get pregnant. Obviously, you can get pregnant. Many people have shown us that that's possible. But in your personal journey, when we started working together, that's what really came up obvious for me. You had all the other pieces that we strive for, not perfection, but you were understanding them. And then it was just this kind of like, okay, if I just let everything else go and I just focus on that gut health healing. And like you say, you weren't even done healing and then you got pregnant.
Yeah. It's like I got pregnant while I was on a protocol for healing my guts. I had been on previous protocols as well. And then I was on this one and found out I got pregnant. I think healing the gut was such a huge piece to it. Surrendering to just like, this is going to happen, how it's going to happen. I'm not going to think that it's not going to happen. Like I truly in my cells believe that. That wasn't like some of the times when I'd be like, just surrender, just surrender. Like it wasn't surrendering. Like I knew in myself, like I was going to become a mother. I knew that never wavered. I was the type of person who would find inspiration everywhere. I know some people, when you see someone pregnant, it can be heartbreaking. It can cause anger. And for me, I always just leaned into like, oh, there's another proof point that it can happen. That was so key. Like, there's another proof point. Proof was such a huge piece. I just looked for proof throughout the world that life can come in even the most challenging circumstances. I remember we even chatted about gut health being such a huge piece. I went to my rock by the water and there's just like this tiny little like plant coming up from this rock and like this tiny crack. And I'm like, how are you even growing here? This makes zero sense. Life always finds a way if we give it the opportunity.
I'm sure like quantum physics or string theory or, like biology, cellular, whatever can explain this, but changing the narrative, right? That's the conscious way I can explain it to you guys to make it make sense. Changing the narrative of the outcome instead of looking at things being like what lack. Oh, well, she's pregnant, so that means there's not enough babies to go around. Trust me, there's enough souls trying to get to this earth. They come to all different shapes of mothers, right? We do not need to be perfect, but changing that mindset piece of looking for the proof, there it is. That is just giving your subconscious mind that, oh, yeah, of course we can do this.
Yeah.
And so I personally believe when women are in the thick of this, right, you have to have it in your heart to be a mom because you would not go through this journey and fail, because what we're doing is constantly failing every month and keep going and searching and doing to get yourself to a point of really good cellular health, getting yourself to a point of understanding what surrender is, what joy is, what looking at the positive is, not pretending to be positive, looking at the positive. And people who don't want to be moms or people who don't want to achieve certain things, they won't do it. So the fact that you continually showed up for yourself and looked at different areas was proof to me that you knew it in your heart. You just knew that it was going to come. And sometimes when it doesn't come as quickly as we want, like you said, your timeline, your expectation. Like I was supposed to have at least 2 kids, if not 3, before I was 30, right? I was supposed to bang, bang, bang them out. And they were supposed to be twins, right? Like that was my expectation in my journey. So to hit 30 and then have to do my first round of IVF and already be 3 years in the sludge was like, all right, guess I don't control this anymore. It wasn't for me. I didn't learn this stuff. I didn't have great podcasts or courses. The fertility industry, even the coaching industry, wasn't what it was back then. So yeah, when you gain this knowledge, okay, so what would have you done differently in your journey or stopped sooner if you would have recognized the pattern and was able to release a little bit sooner? What do you think that biggest one would be?
I think even though I always knew I'm going to be a mom, I think the releasing, the happening on my schedule, like thinking I have any control, letting go of that sooner in terms of, well, no, I want it to happen this month. Surrendering to that a little bit sooner would have helped. Every month when I got my period helped me feel so much better. I'm an eternal like optimist where every month I'd be, oh, this is the, then I'd be so excited and I'd tell my partner, this is the month I can feel it. I would just try to feel that excitement. And then I when it wouldn't happen, the plunge afterwards versus just like true surrender, just being like, it's going to happen. I don't need to like obsess over it. I know that's really hard. And I actually don't know if I had the capacity to not obsess over it back then. It consumed me. The first thing when I would wake up, the last thing when I would go to bed, that is what I was thinking about. If I think from an energetic perspective, that's a lot of pressure on my little one.
Yourself and your own cells.
It's a lot.
And I think what we just don't realize, and it's just going to be a practice. There's no like magic off switch to surrender, to let go. You just have to consistently show up 1% better every day. And if you don't recognize it, show up 1% better the next day. You just get to a point, if you consistently show up in a different way, then you have the ability to surrender. Then you
Yeah.
have the ability to let go. Because, like you say, when you're in the thick of it, when you're that white knuckle, no guru is going to be able to get you out of it because that's just not how the human body is wired. Even if you do energetic work behind the scenes, that person in the physical world still has to show up and not check the ovulation app and not test when they're thinking about it. Let's say, okay, yes, baby, you're on the way. I'm going to think about the gardening I'm going to do today. I'm going to think about the gardening I'm doing with my child in 2 to 3 years. When really practicing getting out of that internal kind of hellhole, right? It really sucks to still be really negative and down about yourself. And it just is almost like a self-fulfilling process. And when you get your period, you already feel like crap anyways, right? Even when you're
Yeah.
not trying to conceive, you have that inflammation, lowness, and low energy. So when someone's like, just be happy during that time, you're like,
And we are going to end there today. You guys know I love these short and sweet. So please come back for next week's second half of Ainsley's journey and story and wisdom. Until then, have a beautiful weekend and we will see you next Friday. Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. And I have something for my loyal podcast listeners, but here's the key. This is only for women who are feeling burnt out, frustrated, and stuck in the cycle of endless research. And you're at a point where you are screaming, I have tried everything. Why isn't this working? This only works for women who are ready to take a radical responsibility for their journey and start listening to their body's innate wisdom. Because deep down, you know you can heal and achieve your ultimate goal. If that's not you yet, that's okay. Not everyone is ready yet to show up with ease, deeply connect to their energy, unlock subconscious patterns, and listen to their body's ability to come into full coherence. But for those who are ready, I'm offering something I only do with my paying clients, and this is a fertility breakthrough session. This is the first thing I do, even before I start really deeply working with someone in a coaching package. It's a deep dive session where we look at exactly where you are right now, what's keeping you stuck, and the easy shifts that can change everything. But fair warning, these sessions are very limited and go fast. So if you're interested in checking out my superpower for uncovering exactly what's been overlooked, jump into one of these free calls. They're deep, they're intuitive, and they're game-changing. The only way you can access this is if you actually personally message me. You can do it on your favorite platform, IG, TikTok, or at my personal email, monica@findingfertility.co. Not .com, because they wanted $3,000 for the M with just one word. And that word is dreams, obviously, DREAMS. And I'll make sure you get that link right away. Remember, this transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body, follow your intuition, make it possible. The links that you need are down below. And if you are still here and you absolutely love this podcast, please take some time and leave me a review and help other women like you find this podcast to get the support they need. Help a sister out. Leave a review today.